In this video we have two trigonometric equations to solve, and we want solutions in the interval from 0 to 360 degrees, including 0 degrees but not to 360. Well, we could use a u substitution or any kind of substitution. I could let y equal to sine of x. You don't have to do this, but you could write it this way and say let y equal to sine of x. So then this would be y squared minus y minus 6, and solve this just like a regular quadratic equation. You could use factoring, you could use the quadratic formula. Obviously if it factors, that's what you want to go with. So this one factors into y minus 3 and y plus 2, and then set the factors equal to 0. The product of two factors is 0 if one or the other is 0, or they're both 0. So we set both of these equal to 0 and we get y is equal to 3. Set y plus 2 equal to 0 and I get y equal to negative 2. And then I could say, okay, go back to the substitution. I know that y is equal to sine of x, so this would tell me that sine of x is equal to 3, or sine of x is equal to negative 2. But the sine function, just like the cosine function, is bounded by negative 1 and 1. So the sine of any value has to be less than or equal to 1, and at the same time greater than or equal to negative 1. So in other words, there is no number for sine of x equal to 3, or sine of x is equal to negative 2. It's undefined. So the first equation has no solution. And I didn't really have to make this substitution. I could just factor this out and say, okay, this factor is going to be sine of x minus 3, sine of x plus 2, and done the same thing. Set the factors equal to 0, and I get no solution. So the first one has no real solution. Now this one again could be using a substitution for cosine of x. This could be 3y squared minus 4y minus 1 is equal to 0. You can do it that way. This one doesn't factor. So I have to use the quadratic formula. So any equation that has this form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is not 0, because if a is 0, then you don't have a quadratic, you have a linear equation. But that's your equation. Coefficient of the x is a b, is minus b plus or minus the square root of whatever b is, b squared minus 4, the product of a and c, over 2 times a, and then you solve that one. So that's your quadratic formula. I'm not going to use a substitution here. I'm just going to say cosine of x, just like if this were a y, 3y squared minus 4y minus 1 equals 0. Same thing. So this is the variable part. That would be your x in the formula. In this case, it's represented by cosine of x. So it's cosine of x then is equal to, according to the formula, it's minus b. B is negative 4. So you minus that gives me a 4. And then it's plus or minus the square root of b squared. Again, b squared is, so b rather is negative 4. So square that, you get a 16. And then it's minus 4a c, and a is 3 and c is negative 1. This will be 3 times negative 1, and that's over 2 times a, and a is 3, so this will just be a 6 down here. And there we go, 4 plus or minus the square root. This will be negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 times a negative 4 is a 12, positive 12. So this will be 28 over 6. So cosine of x can equal to 4 plus the square root of 28 over 6, or 4 minus the square root of 28 over 6. So let's write it out this way. And then this will be cosine of x. Let's do the plus one first. So this will be 4 plus over 6. Now I want x. So I take the cosine inverse of both sides, and x would equal to cosine inverse of 4 plus the square root of 28 over 6. Or if you want to compute this out, you can do it that way. Let's say 4, use your calculator, 4 plus the square root of 26 28 divided by 6, and this will give me a 1.5486. And then I would solve this equation for x, trig equation for x. But notice again, cosine of x is telling me, this is telling me that cosine of x is equal to 1.5486. So it gives you a value larger than 1. So like I said, cosine function, just like the sine function, is bounded between -1 and 1. So the value you get has to be less than 1, but greater than -1. So this equation here has no solution. So that's gone. No solution for this one. The other option we have is that this is for cosine of x equal to 4 minus the square root of 28 over 6. So let's compute this out. This will give me a negative decimal to 4 places again, 2153. And then I'm run it out to 3 places. Now I get a number between -1 and 1, so this one will have at least one solution. So then I would just use my calculator, and then it would be cosine inverse of both sides. So cosine inverse, this would go here, and on the other side I would just get the x. So this would be then x is equal to 102. I'm gonna round this up to one decimal place. So 102.4, and we're dealing with degrees here. If they ask you for solutions in the interval from, say, 0 radians to 2 pi radians, you could easily convert this to radians by just multiplying it by pi over 180 degrees. But this is one solution. And now if you have one solution, generally you're going to have 2. So that's one of them right there. X is equal to 102.4 degrees. So let me draw a diagram over here. So I've got the cosine of an angle equal to a negative. The cosine of an angle is positive if the angle terminates in quadrant 1, quadrant 4. If it terminates in quadrant 2, it's negative, which is what we have here, or in quadrant 3. So let's look at the diagram here. Let's suppose that this is the angle 102.4. The other angle is going to be over here. To get that, I need this angle right here. That'll be my reference angle, and then I'll put that angle over here. So basically what I do here, I take 180 degrees minus 102. This is degrees here. That'll be 0.4. I subtract these two angles, and that'll give me this angle here, which is a reference angle. That'll give me 77.6 degrees. So the angle that I want, the second angle that's going to work, it'll give me that negative value, is this one right here. So simply that's 180 plus 77.6. And if I go ahead and add 180 and the reference angle, again, it gives me this angle right here, which will give me 257.6 degrees. And those are the actual two solutions that fall in the interval from 0 degrees to 360 and 257.6 degrees.